morning.
All right, first day of class and all the students are here, and this is actually really, really exciting. For those of you that don't know, I'm Anna Mari Kause, and I'm provost here at the University of Washington, and it is my delight to welcome you to the grand opening of the Northwest Census Research Data Center. I remember I was talking with Professor Ellis earlier about how when this was a glimmer in some of our eyes, and now it's here, and incredibly exciting, and it couldn't be a better day for this opening. This is exciting, though, not just for the UW, but for students, faculty, researchers, universities, and state and local officials across the entire Pacific Northwest region. We're honored to be part of this elite group of only 15 locations across the United States who provide secure accommodations for researchers to study non-public data collected by the U.S. Census Bureau. For the university, the opening of the center represents an important step in our commitment to find answers to the world's most pressing challenges, while at the same time making real progress towards our goal to expand our campus-wide capabilities in the mathematical, statistical, and computational sciences. We're living in an era where data collection, and hence the need for data curation, is growing at an exponential rate. And the University of Washington is poised to be a world leader in developing tools for integrating, analyzing, and understanding data sets that are high-dimensional, dynamic, and large in scale. The establishment of this local research data center will go a long way in reaching this goal. It will provide a vital resource for our students and faculty in the social, behavioral, and health sciences, allowing them to do cutting-edge research on campus that was previously impossible without costly travel elsewhere. The center also provides the university with a unique recruitment tool, as it will help us attract the very best faculty. For example, Melissa Martinson, who will be sharing her research with you a little later today. The center will also reach well beyond the university to offer access to extraordinarily individualized data for approved visiting faculty and state, county, and city officials. Access to this data will allow researchers to address a wide array of highly relevant problems, such as childhood obesity, poverty, and declining wage rates for our community, region, state, and nation. The University of Washington, with its distinguished history and global reputation for academic excellence, is really the ideal partner in this effort to bring a census research data center to the Pacific Northwest. I envision many productive collaborations amongst our faculty and researchers and those from other universities and government agencies. We look forward to this enormous opportunities that are provided by the center, and we're prepared to take on what we know is an equally enormous responsibility. I'd again like to thank you all for helping us come here and celebrate today. Now it's my honor to turn the podium over to my esteemed colleague and the new director of the Northwest Census Research Data Center, Professor Mark Ellis.
Thank you. Well, I never thought this day would be here, and so quickly. It's only a year ago, just over a year ago, that we got the National Science Foundation grant approved that actually established the Northwest Census Research Data Center, or got it moving. There are two things I want to talk to in my remarks. I want to talk about the people who have got us to this point, and I want to talk about the sorts of research that I fully expect will take place in this data center. So how did it get going? This has been a long on and off campus effort. It's been in my mind for at least 10 years, if not longer. I left UCLA as their research data center started in 1999-2000, thinking that I would create one here. And it's taken a long time to establish a community of scholars and supporters on campus and off. On campus, I'd particularly like to thank the following. The College of Arts and Sciences, Anna Mari, who just spoke, who's now provost, was dean at the time, at which arts and sciences lent its crucial moral and financial support. Judy Howard, Associate Dean for Social Sciences, and crucially, Steve Majeski, Associate Dean of Research in the college, was incredibly important in navigating through all of the necessary things to get done, to get the place established, to get money. Social work has also been a very important supporter. David Takeuchi, who's not here, he's on sabbatical, he was incredibly important in pushing as well, providing key financial support. And then lastly, but by no means least, the Office of Research on campus, Dave Eaton, who was acting Vice Provost for Research at the time, was key. Now, off campus, and this stresses the regional aspect of the cooperation and what I hope the Northwest Census Research Data Center helps push forward, the Office of Financial Management of the State of Washington, the agency that does budget forecasting, population forecasting, and other such matters for the state, very early on contacted me and said they would very much like to support this effort. What could they do? And I said, how much can you pay? And they very quickly, in a very tight budgetary time, said, we can give money, which I was deeply impressed by. And so their money was very important in pushing this forward. They're very interested. I'll tell you about a project that the data center can help support going forward soon. The National Science Foundation, two former program directors in economics, Dan Newland, and in methods, measurement, and statistics, Cheryl Evie, were incredibly helpful and supportive. And at Census, certainly again, last but not least, Ron Jarman, who's here, Sean Klimek is here, Lucia Foster, who's not here. They were very, very helpful at all moments when we had to figure out, well, how do we do this? What does this mean? How do we go forward? Incredibly responsive and incredibly supportive. Made the whole process relatively simple. And then, of course, establishing the place, getting the place built, we were incredibly fast, it turns out, very efficient. And that's got a lot to do with Lita Bain in the college, Ben Newton in the UW Real Estate Office, Annetta Titus at Census, and Mike Babb, the RDC administrator, who was appointed earlier this year, who helped get things off the ground. Now, the NWCRDC, the Northwest Census Research Data Center, was successful in getting off the ground, I think, because of on-campus and off-campus support for such a facility. So I want to now turn to examples of what I think will take place in the near future in such a facility, some of it which may even be taking place in the next week or two. On UW's campus, there are a variety of research centers, the Center for Studies in Demography and Ecology, which I also direct, Center for Statistics and the Social Sciences, the West Coast Poverty Center. These are key social science-oriented centers whose researchers have expressed great interest in accessing the data in the NWCRDC for multiple purposes. And it's not just in the social sciences. The School of Public Health and institutes and centers down there, such as the Institute for Health Metrics, have shown considerable support for the sorts of data that will be available, the restricted data available in a place like the NWCRDC. And let me talk about some specific projects. And this is just a small sample of the projects that I expect will take place within the NWCRDC, and I'll talk specifically where I can about the benefits that I think will come. One research project which has been done with public data so far, but which could certainly be well extended with restricted data, is estimating of the impact of the growing use of road tolling in Puget Sound on low-income and minority populations. Another project, understanding the dynamics of business formation, which is, of course, key to the process of job creation. What determines business formation and business success? The effects of trade on employment change and business performance, another project proposed by people in the business school here. Understanding the role of neighborhood environments and other social contexts in affecting health outcomes, such as low birth weight, something that Melissa Martinson will be speaking about over our lunch when she presents her research, a new faculty member who's joined us and will be making use of the data center. And improving estimates of the numbers of hard-to-read and small populations, which could lead to improved census coverage down the road. There's a long interest in social sciences at UW in these kinds of estimation and forecasting issues because of our advanced statistical demography expertise here, and we could certainly make use of the extra data to improve those forms of estimation. And this last project connects to potentially a partnership with the state, and this is where the Office of Financial Management comes in, and where we directly connect in the most obvious way to policy issues. The state wants to improve its estimates of Washington state populations during inter-census years, and they believe access to restricted use data and possibly merging their local and state data with restricted use data will improve their ability to make such estimates and thereby improve delivery of services to needed locations where those locations' populations are changing very quickly. So as you can see, there are lots and lots of people on and off campus in the region who will be served by the NWCRDC, who will be able to provide the NWCRDC will provide a range of research and policy-related research options for those people. And I very much hope that this list, I know that this list that I've just provided you is just a small sample of what is possible in the data center. And I hope many other people will come and make use of it in the future. It's a real privilege, it's a real honor to be directing this center. I am pleased as punch to be here on this day, and I just thank you all for your support. It really is fabulous at a moment like this where things are a little tough. To be able to open something like this at the university is truly uplifting, and I thank you all. Thanks. And let me introduce Tom Mesenbourg, who is Acting Director of the Census Bureau, who will say a few words.
Well, thank you, Mark, and it's a real pleasure and an honor to be here as we open this Northwest Research Data Center. And this is our 15th. We'll be officially opening the one at Texas A&M on October 19th. So the network actually started in 1990, if I recall, in Boston, and has clearly grown over the next couple of decades. Let me talk a little bit about the federal statistical community and how research fits into our agenda. So there are 14 principal statistical agencies in the federal government. There are about 70 that in one way or another produce statistics. But those 14 agencies, and of course the Census Bureau is one of those, along with the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Bureau of Economic Analysis and National Center for Health Statistics and so on, have an annual budget of about $5 billion. That's in non-decennial census years. And the Census Bureau share is about 20%. So our budget last year was a little under $950 million. At this point, we're not quite clear what it'll be this fiscal year, but it'll at least be $950 million, we hope. And I'm going to be leaving this afternoon because tomorrow we defend our 14 budget to the Office of Management and Budget. But in total, these statistical agencies provide a wealth of statistical information about our society, our economy, and our institutions. And this decentralized statistical system is managed by a very small staff in the Office of Management Budget that's led by the United States Chief Statistician, Catherine Wallman. So we often describe her job as herding all of these cats and trying to keep us all on focus. But I truly believe that statistics and the information we provide are really core to our democracy. We like to think of ourselves as fact finder of the nation, the Census Bureau. And in that role, we're providing the citizenry with the data they need to be informed. And informed citizens are the key to an effective democracy. So we think that's very important. But to serve that role, our data and our statistics need to be credible, they need to be nonpartisan, and they need to be viewed as relevant in terms of they're able to address emerging policy needs and inform us in terms of how effectively our economy, our society, and our institutions are performing. Now, in serving this role, I think there's a basic bond between academics and the census. We both share the view that we need to understand our society and our economy, and that active analysis, use of the scientific method is key to understanding what's going on in our economy. And we're also, I think, both committed to making sure we improve our measurement and our estimation. And we look forward to working with researchers and doing just that. Now, there are some constraints on the bond. So in the new research data center, approved researchers are going to be able to get access to confidential data. By doing that, the Title 13 of the United States Code, that's our enabling legislation, requires us to do research that actually will benefit our programs, our processes, and our products. That hasn't been a problem in the over the last 20 plus years in doing that. But it's not to provide access to folks so they can noodle around in the information. That we want specific kinds of research questions you want answered, questions that will benefit society as a whole. We have made a strong confidentiality to all of our respondents, both households, individuals, and businesses, that the information they provide us will be held confidential and will only be used for statistical programs. So consequently, one of the requirements of the access is the research proposal needs to deliver some benefit to the Census Bureau. That's really the key in terms of us being able to swear researchers in as Census Bureau employees. So I think we also both have another area of tension is our want to really maximize the richness of information and the insights that we provide. And on the other hand, we need to be able to protect the confidentiality of those businesses, those individuals, and those institutions. So it's a top-notch priority of ours that we honor that pledge of confidentiality and we don't breach it. Now, the research data centers over the last 20 years have proven a very effective tool for social economic research, and Mark laid out some of the key kinds of research that will be done here at the Northwest RDC. But it's also provided the capability to bring in a broad set of minds and different disciplines to actually look at this microdata. And that kind of analysis has provided new insights in terms of how our economy and our society is operating. Insights that typically are hard to decipher looking at our aggregate statistics that we produce. Now, we also think there's a common bond between the Census Bureau and the researchers that will be working at this RDC. It's important that we both understand that we're completely dependent on those respondents that provided us information. In a sense, the data that researchers will be provided access to are really their data. They're describing their households, the characteristics of the individuals in those households, the businesses, the performance of those businesses. And it's important to understand all of our research is interested in gleaming statistical insights. We're not interested in the characteristics of an individual, whether household or business. It's really at a much higher level than that. But we also recognize that it's only through the insights that we'll glean through research using the actual underlying microdata that we'll truly understand what's happening in the economy and in households. So ideally, if we think about what the researcher's perspective and the Census Bureau's perspective is, I think we share a common vision that the research is motivated by solving and answering some of the key puzzles in social science, and we really are encouraging new, insightful research in that area. That researchers respect the confidentiality of the underlying microdata, and that we use this research to really provide these new insights. So in conclusion, I'm very excited to be here. I think this is going to be a great addition to our research data center network. We expect great things coming out of here. So thank you very much.
We have a few minutes to take some questions and answers, and we do have someone on the phone from the media who has a couple questions. Susan, do you want to
Yeah,
relay
I'm going to
those?
ask these questions on behalf of Paris Agent from the Vancouver Columbian newspaper. Paris would like to know, other than individual census records, what kind of data is restricted use? And a follow-up question, given that much of the data is not available to the public, how can the press use the center, if at all? Anyone want to take that?
Sure, okay.
Please say your name again so she knows who's
Hi, this is Tom Mesenbourg, Census Bureau. So all of the information that we collect from households, individuals, and businesses is confidential and protected. The one exception to that is information we collect from state and local governments. Those are non-confidential, and we actually publish data that provide detailed information on Kings County or whatever jurisdiction. But everything else that we collect, the underlying microdata, the information we collect on those schedules are protected. Now we, in the Research Data Network, also provides data from the National Center for Health Statistics. Those data are available to researchers, but that approval actually comes through the National Center for Health Statistics. So the process is you put a proposal, a research proposal together that gets vetted for scientific merit. It gets vetted to make sure that we're not going to violate our pledge of confidentiality. Now, in terms of the media, all of the summary statistics that we produce, and there are hundreds of those reports every year. Of course, those are available, but the access to the confidential microdata is tightly controlled.
Any other questions? Yes.
Is there going to be a fee to access data requests?
This is Mark Ellis, the director of the NWCRDC. That, the bottom line is yes, but it depends. The fee structure will be determined by as follows: by those who are at the University of Washington, students and faculty, at the moment without grants to pay for access, there will be no fee. Those who do have grants, we expect them to pay. And those who are not part of the University State Consortium, which is what we have running at the moment, will also be expected to pay. So if you're not at the University of Washington, you're not part of the Office of Financial Management, you will be expected to pay. And there's a fee schedule. I can talk about the fee schedule at some point in more personal circumstances if you'd like. All right?
Yes, you mentioned that proposals will be vetted for scientific merit. In the situation where we were putting a grant together to a federal agency, NIH, for example, and we said we wanted to use these data, now we've got kind of two things that we have to pass. One is your review of scientific merit, but then also the funding agency's review. So if how can we say that we're going to use these data if they haven't been vetted by you for scientific merit?
Or we let Ron Jarman.
Could you?
So, Ron Jarman from the Census Bureau. So we actually have lots of experience with this. And so basically, review of scientific merit by a funding agency is taken as evidence by the Census Bureau. So our scientific merit review is probably much more cursory than NSF or NIH. But basically, we're looking for, the main thing is that it has to benefit the Census Bureau, and so there's this sort of causal link there. If you're a hack, your research isn't going to benefit the Census Bureau. So we're not looking for whether you're going to win a Nobel Prize or that is going to be huge, novel finding in the scientific literature. We're just looking to make sure that you have sort of a well-stated hypothesis. You know that the data can address that hypothesis, and that you kind of know what you're doing. So it's not a huge bar to clear, and if you have an NSF grant or a NIH grant, we take that as just we don't even really do the scientific review. That's taken as evidence. So.
Yes.
Just to follow up, so the concept of benefiting the Census Bureau encompasses much social science?
Very broad. So there's actually a list of criteria by which a proposer would write a proposal and address certain criteria. And one of them is sort of new estimates of populations covered by Census Bureau censuses and surveys. And that's a pretty big tent that you can fit lots of things underneath. Basically, are you addressing some sort of general interest questions about society or the economy that can be addressed with the statistical data that we have? And then there's other like methodological things and those sorts of issues as well.
As a historian, interested in populations in the past as well as the present?
So how far in the past?
Well, I'm a 20th century historian.
Okay.
Who work on migration.
So
Mostly the past.
I think, I'm not sure how far back we have electronic census records. It's back to at least 80, if not 70.
Well, 1960.
1960.
So one of the projects through the Minnesota Research Data Center is to make the 1960 decennial census data available in the research data centers as well.
And we have business data going back pretty reliably into the 70s. Basically, was it when there were computers? And then computers when we actually kept the data in a form that was readable, in the future. So.
Anything else? Okay, we're